Welcome back, I'm Aspiringspike. I know I haven't posted to this channel in the last couple of weeks, but I've been out traveling. Now I'm back, and we're playing a new Pioneer deck. This is Mono Green Karn. A little bit of history on this deck. I've been playing another brew, Mono Black Karn, on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/aspiringspike. And I do plan on recording with this deck, and ideally I'll have both a video for Mono Black Karn and Mono Green Karn up on the YouTube channel over the course of this weekend, and we'll discuss the strengths and weaknesses to both strategies. But I was playing this on my Twitch channel. Someone on the Twitch channel, Austin Abels, was inspired and wanted to try Karn the Great Creator in a mono green devotion shell, and we got paired against each other on stream, and his deck was super duper cool. He shipped me a list. And I've changed a decent amount of things. Like, he was playing Tireless Trackers and Questing Beasts. He wasn't playing Viviens, but I think the Viviens are really important. And we'll get into all the little pieces. I just wanted to give you that little history lesson and show you how we arrived at this shell. But the idea behind playing Karn the Great Creator in Pioneer right now is Karn is a really good answer to the combo decks that are dominating the format. More so, Lotus Breach. Karn is really good to come down on turn 4 or turn 3 in this deck. Get a Tormod's Crypt. Hopefully Tormod's Crypt buys you a turn from your opponent comboing off with Underworld Breach. And then the next turn, it can get you a Damping Sphere or a God-Pharaoh statue. Against Blue-Black Inverter, your main plan with Karn is to get Tormod's Crypt and then God-Pharaoh statue. And the idea is, with a Tormod's Crypt out, your opponent needs to cast Inverter and Thassa's Oracle in the same turn. And if you get Crypt first, and then you get God-Pharaoh statue, it's going to be very difficult for them to cast both Inverter and Thassa's Oracle in the same turn. And theoretically, that's going to lock them out. So in addition to Karn the Great Creator, we also have 4 Vivien Arkbow Ranger. Vivien is not as good at disrupting the combo decks in the format, but she also is removal for opposing creature decks. She grows your creatures, and she can be disruption for opposing combo decks by grabbing Emrakul the Promised End and casting this card on turn 4, 5, 6. It's not very easy to cast on turn 4, but you can do it. And Emrakul can kill your Inverter opponent by just casting an Inverter for them. If they've already cast their Inverter, you can just draw their deck without playing a Oracle or a Jace. Or sometimes you just get an Ulamog and get 2 of their lands. We also have Scavenging Ooze to get against Swedish Sultai, Nylea's Disciple to get against the aggro decks Mono Black and Mono Red. I think that Nylea's Disciple is better than the new version of Nylea's Disciple. I can't remember the name of the card, but it's a 3-mana 2/2 with the same effect. You gain life equal to your devotion to green. But I think the 3/3 body is very relevant against Mono Black and Mono Red. Vivien can also get Questing Beast, which is especially good against blue-white control, but it's a good card to get just in general, especially if you have more Viviens to -3 and kill anything with a Questing Beast. Playing 1 Verdurous Gearhulk, which can get got by either Karn or Vivien, because it is an artifact creature, and this card excels against the opposing green decks and the red decks. They can just never get it off the field. It's bigger than most things. I've liked having access to this card. Playing 1 Great Henge, which can get got by Karn the Great Creator. This is a great card advantage engine. It gains life. You can plus with Karn and make it a 9/9 attacker. Really good against the grindy matchups. Walking Ballista can get got by either Vivien or Karn, and obviously when you're playing a deck that can make a ton of mana, this card is phenomenal. We already talked about God-Pharaoh statue and how good this card is very good against the combo decks. But also when you play like a turn 3 Karn on the play, God-Pharaoh's statue is usually the best card to get against any deck. A turn 4 God-Pharaoh statue on the play wins most matchups. It kind of stops most opponents dead in the water. All of their spells cost 2 more. They become super duper slow, and they usually aren't able to keep up with you at that point. I've been really impressed by Skysovereign Consul Flagship. This was not a card I was playing in my Mono Black version. I'm playing a Noxious Gearhulk in Mono Black as like a creature removal spell. But Mono Green doesn't have access to that, so I decided to play Skysovereign, and I think Skysovereign is better. This card is really good against spirits. It kills everything against spirits, it blocks everything against spirits, and it can't get spell quellered. This card is super duper good. And if you play Skysovereign, you can also plus Skysovereign with Karn, and it'll become a creature, and you can attack and get the 3 damage trigger. You know, Pithing Needle for opposing planeswalkers and the like. We're playing 1 Nyx Lotus as well to get with Karn if we need a lot of mana. I haven't tutored for this super often. It mostly has come up against like blue-white control, where you're struggling on mana, but you have time to develop, and you have time to get a Nyx Lotus. It's not super often you get it, but the card is really, really powerful when you want it. I do think it's good to be able to tutor for it. Dampening Sphere, only for Lotus Breach. Notably, Dampening Sphere does not prevent Wolfwillow Haven or Nissa from generating more mana, but it does prevent Nykthos and Castle Garenbrig from generating more mana. So keep that in mind when you tutor it up. But Dampening Sphere is so good against the Lotus Breach decks, I think you need access to it. Tormod's Crypt, really, really good against Swedish Sultai, Inverter, Lotus Breach, great one to have. And 1 Darksteel Citadel, this is mostly just to get with Karn when you need to play a land, which absolutely does come up. I've tutored this up more times than you might have expected to. But it is also something to get it, and then plus Nissa who shakes the world on the Citadel, and have an indestructible vigilance attacker and blocker. That's not the most relevant thing, but it is kind of cute. I guess it's kind of weird to have gone over the sideboard before the main deck, but I do think the sideboard is the much more interesting part of this deck. I actually do not sideboard in any matchup. I am just playing my ramp plan, and my planeswalkers tutor up my sideboard cards as I need them, and I've been really happy with that game plan. But we can go ahead and talk about the main deck. Nothing too crazy in the mana base. We're playing 2 Castle Garenbrigs, 16 Forest, and 4 Nykthos. The only thing I'm not sure about is the number of Castle Garenbrigs. Castle is really, really good with Voracious Hydra, but it can be awkward to draw multiple Castle Garenbrigs and Nykthos in your opening hand. So I've liked 2. I could see 3 and 4 being fine, but I think the first 2 at least are good. All 8 mana elves. We're playing 4 Wolfwillow Haven, which is a new card from Theros Beyond Death. It enchants a land, and the enchanted land, whenever it becomes tapped for mana, it adds an additional green. And you can also pay 5 mana and sacrifice it to get a 2/2 wolf token, which is not incredibly relevant, but I have won games with the wolf token that Wolfwillow Haven provides. We're playing 4 Burning-Tree Emissary, mostly to generate devotion for Nykthos, but it is also nice to just have like a free creature to put +1/+1 counters on with Vivien. We're playing 2 Voyaging Satyr. This is a card that older devotion decks haven't really been playing. It is very clearly strong with Nykthos when you get it going, but with 4 Wolfwillow Haven, I think Voyaging Satyr gets even stronger than it used to be, and I think it's earned a spot as a 2-of in the devotion deck now. Playing 4 Jadelight Ranger, mostly just like smooth out our draws. It's an okay threat. It's an okay card selection spell, and it also is a good devotion enabler. It's a good role player in this deck. Already talked about these planeswalkers. We can go ahead and just briefly touch on Nissa who shakes the world. I mean, those who play Standard know just how good this card is. One of the best 5 mana planeswalkers ever printed. Not only does it make a ton of mana, but it also puts a lot of pressure on your opponents very quickly. This card is phenomenal. And we're playing 4 Voracious Hydra. This card is incredibly versatile. It can be a gigantic threat. It can come down and just kill your opponent's creature for not that much mana. And every once in a while, you just play it for 0 and have it be a 2 mana devotion enabler, which is not the most common thing, but it does come up. And with that out of the way, we can go ahead and jump into a league. Remember, if you like this kind of content, you can find me on twitch.tv/Aspiringspike or subscribe to this YouTube channel. I stream on Twitch Monday through Friday from 8:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, and I hope to see you there. Okay, so we are on the draw for round number 1. Our hand is great, really, really quick. Lots of mana acceleration and a Nykthos and a Planeswalker to play. It's kind of exactly what we're looking for in this deck. Interesting. Legion Loyalist is not the most common threat in the mono-red aggro decks. I have seen Aaron Barrich playing Goblins recently. This could be that list. Notably, Voyaging Satyr is a 1/2 that blocks Legion Loyalist, which is a 1/1. This is another Goblin. Dynacharge to give this +2/+0. Pioneer is wild. Man, we drew Nykthos. But yeah, Pioneer is wild. I feel like every single time I play Pioneer, I see a deck, or I see a card cast I've never had cast against me before. Alright, Cavalcade Calamity. So whenever a creature with power 1 or less attacks, it deals 1 damage to the player or planeswalker that creature is attacking. So our opponent is down to just 1 card in their hand. I am kind of scared of Legion Loyalists getting out of control. Our 2 options are just play Jadelight. We could play Vivien and plus on Voyaging Satyr to keep Voyaging Satyr alive. Or we could Vivien and just minus Voyaging Satyr on Loyalist. I think I'm just going to play the Vivien and plus on the Satyr. It's going to be really difficult for our opponent to kill either permanent now. And now Nykthos is tapping for an additional mana. And we could have a pretty explosive turn next turn by playing multiple Nykthoses potentially. If we draw a Burning-Tree Emissary, I'm pretty sure we can cast an Emrakul if they, or an Ulamog if they don't attack Vivien. And they didn't attack Vivien. We're going to go ahead and skewer our faces. This might be a game where we get Nylea's Disciple out of our sideboard. We drew a Nissa Who Shakes the World. So Nykthos is currently making 4 mana. So we can tap Nykthos for 4, play Jadelight Ranger, have 1 mana floating. Then we can't play another Nykthos immediately and then activate it, but we could use Voyaging Satyr and then play another Nykthos and activate Nykthos for 7 and play, I think, Nissa and the other Jadelight. Yeah, I think that's going to be good. Alternatively, we could play Nissa first and then untap a Nykthos with Nissa. So we untap Nykthos, we go up to 6 mana, we Nissa, and Nissa untaps Nykthos, and we'll be floating 1 mana. But at that point, we can't activate the Nykthos again, so we should untap a Forest with this Nissa, then play a second Nykthos. Yeah, I think it's the same either way. I think we just get to play our hand. But let's do it this way. And then we could be like super duper safe, I suppose. And we could actually just get a Nylea's Disciple now. And then that would gain us 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 life. Yeah, I don't really think we're in much danger of dying next turn, but I do think it's like theoretically possible. So why don't we go ahead and just do that instead. Sure. And now I don't think our opponent's going to be able to beat Nissa plus our board of big creatures again with their red deck. We're at 18. A lot of our attackers have vigilance because of Nissa. Ooh, we could just play a gigantic Voracious Hydra. That's what we're doing this turn. So Nissa, untap Nykthos. We are going to lose this Nykthos, but that's okay. Let's just have a little bit of fun and play a turn 5 40-40. Is that how big this is going to be? Yeah. Yeah, turn 5 40-40. And I guess we attack with the Vigilance land, but I mean this is gonna a 40-41. We'll see if that 1 point of toughness matters. We're at 18. They do get to deal an extra 2 points of damage with every red source, so I guess this is going to deal 9 when they attack. But they're down to just 1 card in hand. I don't think they're getting there. I'm not sure what 1 card could end up dealing 9 damage, even if it's, you know, +2. Not even Dynacharge. Yeah, Dynacharge actually seems pretty reasonable with their go wide strategy. Well, I'm glad we got the Nylea's Disciple. That actually ended up being like super relevant. Okay, so we won game 1 against Mono Red aggro, and again, here's how we sideboard in every matchup. So we are on the draw for game 2. I do think that this hand is a keep. Certainly has a potential to flood out, but it's hard to mulligan like 1 mana accelerant, 2 mana accelerant into Nissa. Yeah, scared that we drew a forest there. We're gonna need to stop drawing lands, theoretically. I don't think this Mystic is going to be long for this world. Oh, they Fanaticked us, then they light up the stage, and then they missed their land drop. Well, that was about the best case scenario, and then they conceded. Well, really quick round 1. We'll go ahead and see you guys for round number 2. I have a feeling this is going to be a short video. So we're on the play for round 2. I think that this hand is a keep on the play, but I would mulligan this on the draw without a 1 mana accelerant. But I think this hand is fine on the play. Nissa notably also makes Voyaging Satyrs tap for 2 mana, so if we can go Satyr, Nissa on turn 3 with an untapped Satyr, we can untap a forest with Nissa, and then play Vivien, and so turn 4 we can play both Planeswalkers. Also, if we draw Wolfwillow Haven, these Satyrs are going to be really good. Hallowed Fountain used to make me think blue-white control, but there's just been so much spirits on Magic Online the last couple of days. I think it's more likely that we're playing against spirits here. So we could just play 2 ramp spells, or we could play the Vivien. Obviously, those are our options. I think I'm going to go with double ramp spell. If this is blue-white control, which it absolutely could be. Yeah, I don't think I want to attack into either an Azurius Charm or a Rattle Chains. But I think this is probably spirits. Okay. Opt means blue-white control. I guess I just have been playing against spirits so much. Traumatized. Obviously a Supreme Verdict is going to be a huge problem from this point. Interesting. They plus the Teferi. Well, we'll be able to kill that. Oh boy. That's a draw. The problem is this Supreme Verdict. I think the plus also does make me think Supreme Verdict a lot. So we should try to play both of our Planeswalkers this turn. Can we play Nissa Who Shakes the World and Vivien and kill Teferi without making a land a creature with Nissa, so that way the land doesn't die to the Verdict? I don't think that we can, but let's see if we can figure it out. So we play Nissa, yeah, and then we can't activate Nykthos without plussing Nissa, which is probably just where we're gonna end up being. But if we play Vivien. Yeah, we would also need... Yeah, we would need to attack with 2 mana guys and plus Vivien. Sorry about the dog barking. It's been just all day. Not my dog outside. Yeah, we would need to attack with all 3 mana dorks and plus Vivien to kill the Teferi. So I think we're going to have to lose our land to a Supreme Verdict, but as a nice consolation prize, I suppose, we're going to have 2 Planeswalkers out there. Yeah, so let's untap Nykthos, untap Forest, Nykthos out, five mana. We even have a mana floating, and then we can plus on the Forest. And we at least get to kill the Teferi. They're going to get to ruin our day if they have a Supreme Verdict. I mean, it's not... If they just don't have a Verdict, we win, because we get to Vivien for an Eldrazi. We haven't been Verdicted yet. Surely it would have been cast by now, right? All day I sit by my window and I hear that dog bark at people and snarl, and all day I I hear people react to that dog. So they didn't have Verdict, so we can get an Eldrazi here. I think we just want Ulamog and exile the Tension Sphere Hallowed Fountain. You know what? They're not dead to like Walking Ballista, are they? If Vivien could deal damage to players, they'd be dead to this Hydra. See, Walking Ballista would be an 8/8. Yeah, that's not quite good enough. So we'll settle for an Ulamog the Ceaseless Hunger. Which, like, we exile their Sphere, their Fountain, we hit them for 7, or sorry, 9 with the Hasted Land, the 5/5, and the Elf. And then if they Verdict, they're not killing Ulamog, and if they answer Ulamog, we have more attackers. Yeah, editing this video is going to be super easy. Okay, I like this hand well enough on the draw. You know, we get an extra look at a card, or we get to see more cards being on the draw. And what we need to have happen is we need Jadelight Ranger to find us a Planeswalker, but we can empty our hand on turn 2. I am a little worried about flooding out with this hand, but with this being a good card selection spell, I'm not so worried. Also, our opponent mulliganed to 6, which always bodes well. Runner land is bad. Ideally, we can find a Planeswalker off of this Jadelight. There's a Planeswalker, so we'll keep that on top. And next turn, we get to hit our opponent for a decent amount of damage. Again, wouldn't be very surprised at all by a Supreme Verdict, but hopefully Vivien can keep the pressure going, maybe by just cashing it in for a Questing Beast. Maybe, and I guess ideally we draw another threat underneath the Vivien and get to keep going off from there. Our opponent notably does not have 3 mana available this turn for a counterspell. A hard counter, absorb, a Sinister Sabotage, whatever weird split blue-white players are doing this day. So we can pay for a Censor or a Syncopate or a Spell Pierce here. So it'd have to be like Dovin's Veto or Aether Gust. And we'll keep the Vivien on top. It is going to be, of course, very tough if our opponent gets a 3-for-1 with a Verdict here. But we will at least get to resolve Vivien. I do think we're not favored on the draw against blue-white, but I think we are favored on the play. That's been my experience so far. Okay, yeah, drawing Jadelight, I think that we're pretty incentivized to keep the Vivien around, just play Jadelight plus on the Jadelight, and the next turn we can... Do we want a second Vivien? I think I'm going to put it in the graveyard. Although it is tempting. But next turn we can like get a Questing Beast. Are we actually going to be able to cast Ulamog? This is 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We're only 1 mana shy of casting an Ulamog. I guess I wonder if we were supposed to keep that Burning-Tree Emissary then. I think probably not, just because it's so likely our opponent can disrupt us. Only 2 card types, so we're 2 mana off of an Emrakul. Questing Beast is very good in spots like this. We could play a 4/4 Ballista too. We've got options. Burning-Tree Emissary at the top does let us cast Ulamog. We could just draw another one. Teferi, Hero of Dominaria. Interesting. I imagine this is going down. It goes up. That's surprising. Hopefully this doesn't mean they have an Aether Gust. If they do, they're just going to gust probably the Vivien on our draw step or something. Another Jadelight Ranger. So yeah, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 mana, so just one shy of being able to Ulamog here. It really does feel like my opponent has some 2-mana interactive spell. And if we get Questing Beast, and our opponent has a removal for Jadelight Ranger, they get to keep their Teferi, and letting them keep their Teferi sounds kind of terrifying. So I'm going to play Jadelight Ranger, I think, and then if my opponent... If we see some more gas on top, I think I'm likely to just minus Vivien on the Jadelight to kill the Teferi, because I think if my opponent had Aether Gust, they would have already cast it. And all of their other interaction is either counterspells or removal that interacts with a creature in the combat step. It all has to be tapped or attacking for blue-white to deal with it. So we should be able to just cast the Jadelight and gain some info here. Yeah, putting Voyaging Satyr in the graveyard, keeping Nissa Who Shakes the World on top. So that is, you know, gas that we can just keep on top, and now like we have gas for next turn, so I think I'm okay just trying to kill Teferi. And I don't think they have Aether Gust. I think if they had Aether Gust, they would have already used it. And this also lets us attack them for 6, which isn't super likely to go through. Wow, they did have Aether Gust. I was not expecting that. I'm gonna bottom, I guess. Yeah, I really didn't read them having Aether Gust, since they... I would have not let my opponent activate Vivien. I guess they were worried about us pumping the Jadelight, and they weren't sure if they wanted to gust Jadelight or Vivien. Interesting. Now we are behind by a lot, but we're top decking in Nissa. I think we'll know in like the next couple of turns whether or not we have a chance to win this game. It does seem like it's slipping away. I think if our Nissa gets countered, we can just go to game 2. Or game 3, rather. Ooh, they're going to Field of Ruin away our Nissa. Or maybe not. Maybe they're just going to hold up a counterspell. But they can Field of Ruin and hold up a counterspell here. Looks like that's what they're going to do. Or at least the Field of Ruin half. We don't know about a counterspell for sure. We drew another Jadelight Ranger. I'm going to graveyard this one. I'm going to keep Karn. I'm going to keep the Karn again. So if our opponent goes like Supreme Verdict into a counterspell, we can probably concede, but we're not dead yet. Really tough to beat Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, once it gets going. Opponent spending 5 mana for an Elspeth Conquers Death. Well, that's not good. But if they don't have a counterspell, we can, you know, Karn and Needle Teferi, Hero of Dominaria. And if they have a counterspell, you know, they are also taking 10. Yeah, it's gotta be Needle. So do they have, like, Settle the Wreckage here to spot removal spells? Definitely, I don't think want to kill Teferi Time Raveler here. Don't want to, like, give them a way to something to get back with Elspeth Conquers Death. Right, it's double Seal Away. Not that we could have killed it anyways, because of the Seal Aways at this point. So next turn with Karn, we could get God-Pharaoh Statue, which is not super relevant at this point. We could get Skysovereign potentially, but again, same thing with the Teferi minus. Although I guess they'll be able to minus Teferi on the Needle. They won't be able to get anything back with Elspeth Conquers Death, but they'll be able to unlock their Teferi for a turn. So maybe we're supposed to get like a Walking Ballista here. And just like ping Teferi once. That seems correct to me. Gonna use Castle Garenbrig here so we could potentially pay... Or, I'm not gonna play around Censor. We'll just go ahead and cast this for 4. Our opponent, I don't think, had a counterspell a couple of turns ago, but I wouldn't be surprised if they found one. They have a Torrential Gearhulk to get back Dig Through Time, which is super duper powerful, but it's not a counterspell. It's probably not very beatable either. If they get a Censor here, we can pretty safely concede. Alright, no Censor. Let's go ahead and ping the Teferi Time Raveler. Don't want to kill it. Elspeth Conquers Death will go off without being able to return anything, which is good for us. This is going to be a tough one. We still have game 3 to play if we can't squeak this one out. Probably just letting Karn die here. As it stands, we can activate Ballista twice. I am worried about my opponent being able to like seal away the Ballista. They're going to cast out the Needle. Okay, let's go ahead and go to game 3. Okay, so we're on the play for game 3. We have a very difficult hand here. This hand is going to really struggle against the Supreme Verdict. If this hand draws a land, I think this hand is very good because we get to go Mystic into Satyr Mystic. If we miss, we go Mystic into Satyr, into like probably Jadelight, hit a land, Mystic. That's our turn 3. And then we still get another turn after that before Verdict can come down. So I'm going to keep this hand on the play, but I think it's very close. And if our opponent has a turn 4 Verdict, things are going to be bad for us. But a land off the top, I think we like probably win very easily. And we're still playing Magic with that one. We did hit a land off the top. Very lucky. Very, very lucky even. Unsure exactly what we're going to try to get with Karn here. I'm not a fan of Fabled Passage and blue-white control. I don't think it's very good. Can't Jadelight and then Karn. We could try to maybe just double Jadelight this turn. I think that commits too much into a verdict. Yeah, so I think what we want to do is try to set up for a God-Pharaoh statue next turn. So I'm going to go ahead and minus and grab a Darksteel Citadel. I'm gonna play the second Mystic too, but if we can get a God-Pharaoh statue resolved next turn, we're gonna be in good shape. Notably, Aether Gust doesn't stop us from being able to cast a statue next turn. Hopefully our opponent just plays like a 3-mana Planeswalker here. I guess if it's Teferi, we would need them to minus the Teferi. Otherwise they could just minus on the statue. I'm gonna go for God-Pharaoh statue here. If they have counterspell into Supreme Verdict, our Goose is gonna be cooked. But they only have 1 blue mana available, so it has to be Dovin's Veto because we can pay for Censor. They cycle Azuria's Charm. Awesome. So God-Pharaoh's statue resolves. Notably, we can attack with God-Pharaoh's statue for 6 next turn. That's going to kill our opponent pretty quickly. They can't Verdict. They are like 3 turns away from Verdict right now. They also don't really want to use their Field of Ruin because that just gives us a land. Wow. Okay. Play Nykthos. Play Jadelight Ranger. Not really worried. I mean, I guess they could Aether Gust this. Okay, so they're going to blow up Nykthos in response. That's fine. We'll just double activate. And now they can't cast a spell this turn. And we get to play a big Hydra. We get to hit them with the God-Pharaoh statue. Graveyard Burning-Tree, draw Forest from the Jadelight. Gonna play a 12/12 Voracious Hydra, and again, they just cannot cast any more spells this turn, and they can't Verdict us next turn. Bash them for 6. They can't settle. It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough for them. What else could we get with Karn here? We're probably just going to make this a creature, but we could potentially get a Ballista or a Great Henge. But I have a hard time thinking that they're going to be able to survive here. Because they probably need to spend their turn spot removing the Voracious Hydra. And if they do that, they die to our other attackers. Alright, they didn't have anything. And there you saw the power of God-Pharaoh statue, just turn 4 on the play. Just wins most games. So we are 2-0. I'll go ahead and see you guys for round number 3. We won the die roll for round number 3, and I don't think I said this, but this deck really likes to win the die roll. I'm going to mulligan this hand. I do mulligan pretty aggressively in this deck. This hand's close. Like, we do have turn 3 Vivien on the play, but we don't have anything to do on turn 2. I think this hand's a mulligan. This hand's a little bit better, but not by a lot. I'm going to keep, if we draw another mana source, we can turn 3 Vivien. I'm going to keep, I'm going to put back one of the 2 Voracious Hydras, I think. possible we go to 5. Nah, I think this is a fine 6. I do mulligan like very aggressively with this deck just for a fast hand. I think like ramp decks with the London mulligan probably benefit more than most other strategies. Just being able to find, you know, accelerant into payoff very consistently is so good for these kind of decks. It used to be that you could just basically guarantee you always have turn 1 Mystic because you had... do we play a 2-3 Hydra here? I actually think we do, and then if we draw a land for Vivien, we can start plussing on the Hydra. And that's what we want to have happen. But like it used to be, you could always have a turn 1 drop. What is this that we're playing against? Oh no! Oh no! Don't! Oh no! Well, we're gonna need to hit runner land. We would have hit the land for the Vivien. So this is likely green-white Heliod Ballista Company combo. Yeah, it's got to be what this is. Notably, Karn the Great Creator shuts off Walking Ballista from your opponent, so I felt favored against the Heliod combo versions. Militia Bugler gets a 3-wood Inspector, and they also play it this turn. We need to hit a land here. If we hit a land here, I think we're going to be okay. Also, Karn shuts off clue tokens. Okay, there's a land. I believe we're playing Vivien and just trying to get this Hydra big enough to hold down the fort. In a precarious spot, that Walking Ballista was really good against us. Atomic making... Oh, and playing a Nykthos, making 7 mana. Cracking a clue, playing another 3-wood Inspector. Cracking another clue. If only we had the Karn down. Are they can attack everything and kill the Vivien, but they'll lose their militia or their Banalish Marshal if they do that. And they decide that that's something that they're fine having happen. This also cuts them off of a lot of devotion. Alright, let's Burning-Tree Emissary into Karn, and we have basically 2 main choices with Karn here. We could either get Skysovereign. We could get Skysovereign, we could get Darksteel Citadel to guarantee that we can play Nissa next turn. We could get Nyx Lotus, and I think that's going to be too slow. I think we should take the higher upside play here and just grab the Skysovereign. I think Skysovereign, if we can find the land, is going to win us the game. I think that Nissa, as good as she is, just might not be good enough here while we're so behind on board. And as long as Karn is in play, they cannot Ballista us, thankfully. So we'll put, you know, a decent amount of priority on keeping Karn around. They have 7 devotion, 2nd Marshal, so now they can kill Karn with their flying Atomic. They also get to bolster onto one of the 3-wood Inspectors. I don't expect them to throw away like a Militia Bugler or an Inspector to get through 5 damage, but they might. If we draw a land, I do think we're going to be okay here. Did not draw a land. So if we had gotten Darksteel Citadel, we could have played Nissa this turn, but I just don't think we're in that good shape if we play Nissa. I think that this was the play we had to make. And if our opponent is out of gas, which they just way aren't, we could be fine, but we're not fine. Yeah, now Hydra's just not blocking most things effectively. I don't like getting in with the Marshal here. I think that's a mistake by them. Yeah, they agree. So we're probably going to do something like block Hydra and Burning-Tree on Anafinza, take 12. Biggest problem is like Skysovereign just doesn't kill anything anymore. Oh, they didn't order the blockers correctly, so now Burning-Tree... Oh, sorry, they killed the Hydra. Oops. Okay, let's go to game 2. Kind of an awkward mulligan. That first hand might have been fine, but I like mulliganing a little more aggressively, especially mulliganing those 7-card hands. Because you have plenty of 5... You have plenty of fine 5-card hands and like lots of good 6s. I've won on mull to 4s a couple of times with this deck too. This deck mulligans very well, and I think you want to mulligan very aggressively. This hand looks great to me. Turn 1 we play Mystic, turn 2 we play Haven and second Mystic, and then we can either play Hydra or Vivien. I don't think we can play both, or at least not effectively. This hand seems really, really strong. Happy to have. Okay, so our opponent is back. Let's go ahead and go Forest, Mystic. Raven Inspector. Play Nykthos. Play Wolfwillow Haven. Play second Mystic. Nykthos isn't quite generating mana, but it is making 3 green. If we draw a land, I believe we can play Jadelight and then Vivien. Notably, Wolfwillow Haven is mana neutral with the Nykthos out because it makes a mana when it comes down when you tap it, and also is a green devotion. I'm not super keen on letting them untap with Daxos. So if we play Haven, activate Nykthos for 4, we'll also have 1 more mana from the Haven, so we'll be able to play Hydra for 3 and kill the Daxos. I think I like that. Yeah, Voracious Hydra is super duper versatile card. Does Daxos trigger life gain on itself? No, it does not. Next turn we should be able to play both Jadelight and Vivien, and both cards should be able to find us more gas. Depending on what, we're obviously not sure what we're going to do with Vivien. If our opponent plays like another Daxos, I'm like probably just going to minus and kill it. But if they, if they play like a Heliod, we'll just plus Vivien probably. Yeah, Marshall is probably one we'll kill with the Vivien minus. I guess if we don't see any action off the Jadelight, and we didn't, we might just need the action from the Vivien. It's not super likely that they can kill the Vivien, and we didn't find action off the Jadelight again, so sure, let's go ahead and make the Jadelight big enough to block the Marshall. And next turn we can Titan them. I think it's definitely a higher upside play than killing the Marshall here. I am of course worried about dying, or having Vivien die, and then having nothing. I guess that we can also ask ourselves, which Eldrazi do we want? Probably just Ulamog. Probably just Ulamog. It does seem like they definitely have a Coco here. I think that's something we can infer. Notably, we can, I believe, Ulamog and Vivien here on turn 5. We can't Emrakul and Vivien. I don't think, right? Guess we haven't played a land. Oh, did we not play a land last turn? That's crazy. No, we played a land. So turn 5. So we must have missed the land drop. Plays Forest on turn 4. We definitely played one on turn 2. Did we just not play a land on turn 3? If I did, I'm sorry about that. It's oftentimes just difficult to talk and and play. I find it's like way easier to stream and play than it is to do these recordings for whatever reason. But we have not played a land, so we have 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 mana. Emrakul is 12, so we could play Emrakul and Vivien. Yeah, let's play Emrakul. It's gonna whatever creature they get here is going to creatures they get off the Coco. We can just attack into our board and make them die. If they have any ballistas, we'll be able to like play the ballistas on 0 or make the ballistas bigger and kill their own creatures. And we can also Ulamog next turn, which is wild. I guess we want to put 2 counters on the Jadelight so it can actually like eat a bigger creature if that's what they Coco into. Unclear that they will even cast the Coco. I mean, they don't definitely have it, but they probably have it. If they have a Stasis Snare, I could see them using the Snare on the Emrakul. If they have a Coco in their hand and they decide not to cast it, we can just cast it and choose to get no creatures. They do decide to cast it. Fairgrounds Warden? Oh my gosh. Well, we can at least kill the Fairgrounds Warden and get our Emrakul back, but this means we're going to kill 1 fewer creatures. Oh, they're going to get rid of the Hydra. That's a good play. Then what are they going to do with the Charming Prince? Maybe they wanted to stack this differently, so Fairgrounds Warden resolve first, so they would exile the Hydra and then flicker the Warden, and then this comes down and gets the Emrakul. Could see that have been better. Interesting. So they have Marshall, Snare, Daxos. Stasis Snare cannot exile your own creatures, which I guess is kind of flavorful if this card is fighting against Eldrazi. So let's have them attack in with Marshall and Fairgrounds Warden and kill both. And then use the Stasis Snare on the Voracious Hydra. Whenever someone Emrakuls their opponent, I see a lot of people just like tap the land, but tapping the land doesn't matter because the person who gets Emrakul just gets to take another turn. But you know, usually people are in the habit of when they take someone's turn, they tap all their lands because that's how you do it with Mindslaver or whatever. But I don't think that that's correct. We should get to Emrakul them next turn, or sorry, Ulamog them next turn. Be pretty difficult for most Pioneer decks to beat turn 5 Emrakul, turn 6 Ulamog. It's not impossible, I suppose. Also not very likely. Oh no! Oh no. I think we can still cast it, but it was a punt to not Nykthos first. Yeah, we can still just easily cast it. I'll try to not talk so much. They also didn't play their... They played a Plains last turn. We know about the Temple Garden, so they drew the Plains off of either the clue or their draw step. Their opponent may be composing a message for us in chat. And they have a response. Is it another Stasis Snare? It is. So they drew plain Stasis Snare. So their hand is Daxos, Binalish Marshal, Temple Garden. None of those currently answer Ulamog, but if they top deck a third Snare, they're still playing Magic. They did not top deck a third Snare. I mean, they are still playing Magic. They can tank an Emrakul hit, or an Ulamog hit. It's going to be tough. We can also just make 2/2/2s here if we don't draw anything, and we didn't draw anything. Let's go ahead and do it now. And I think I will attack with my elves. Yeah, I'll attack with the elves. That way, if they want to block one of them, they can't double block the Jadelight and kill it. So they might double block Jadelight, block Elvish Mystic, but then they take 10 off the Ulamog, which is also something I'm content with. And then they also lose their Inspector Prince. Maybe see if they're on anything spicy. Looks like a pretty stock Heliod Cocoa deck. They decided to block both elves, which is something I'm okay with. This is going to make just one Ulamog hit lethal. We know about just the Daxos in their hand, so they have 2 cards that are unknown to us. We can infer that one of them is not a Stasis Snare, because this didn't get snared last turn. There's the Daxos. Also, one more Ulamog hit is going to put them down to just 2 cards in their library. So I don't really see our opponent coming back from that. I'll play a big old Voracious Hydra and fight their Marshal, though. Go ahead and get in with the boys. Probably is incorrect for our opponent to play this out, because now we get to see just their entire deck basically. They probably should have conceded to conceal information. I think that would have been a better line. Interesting. Are they playing the full 4 Nykthos? There's 3 here. I guess there's 2 cards we didn't get to see. 4 seems like a lot. I think that most of those decks play 3. Keep this hand on the draw. It is less explosive than our last one. Our last draw was insane. But this is fine. Karn is good in the matchup, and we have a turn 3 choice of which Planeswalker we'd like to play. And now we get to play 2 Accelerants next turn, assuming our elf doesn't get ballisted here. But if that's what they're doing, it's not the end of the world at least. Attack for 1 with Inspector. It looks like they're just going to crack their clue. So it looks like Karn probably isn't going to have time to stop the clue from being cracked. We're going to have 6 mana next turn. Right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Nothing crazy we can get for with Karn. We could get a Needle potentially. But the thing is, Karn's static ability stops the combo anyways. So that's not incredibly necessary, I don't think. We also could just play Vivien and make an Alpha 3/3 and have that be a blocker. If we draw a Nykthos, I'm pretty inclined to play Vivien. We drew a Nissa. Wow. So Nissa should let us play Forest, tap this for 2, untap this, play another Planeswalker. Hell yeah. Do you want to attack for 3? Sorry, pretty obnoxious, but my internet cut out for a second, and I had to restart everything, and when I came back, I clicked OK, and wasn't able to cast another Planeswalker. I know that kind of stinks. Hopefully it doesn't cost us the match or whatever. I think we'll still be fine, but like misclicks are a part of Magic for sure. I mean, they're at least a part of Magic Online. I would like to get Skysovereign down, so we can just 5. This untaps this, taps for another 3. So you have to tap an elf. Alternatively, yeah, I think we want to actually just leave a 3/3 untapped to crew the Skysovereign on defense. So there's Skysovereign. Play this 2, 3, 4, 5. Skysovereign. Yeah, so it looks like, I don't know if you want to call that a misclick because it was just like Magic Online being Magic Online. Oh, you know what? I didn't realize we could also play Vivien this turn, which is nuts. If we play Vivien, though, we're kind of shields down. We can play Vivien and just kill the Bugler, maybe. Just hold the Vivien, too. Yeah, I think I'm okay just holding the Vivien and leaving up defense for our Planeswalkers. Skysovereign is great. This card is really, really good with Karn. I feel silly for not playing it in the mono blacklist. I was just kind of thinking that Noxious Gearhulk being able to gain life and like kill Uro is more relevant, but I think we might have room for both. I'm going to be changing the mono blacklist for when I record with it, either today or tomorrow. Fairgrounds Warden. I guess they target the forest and then we crew the Skysovereign so we can block. Interesting. So we could get a huge ballista here with Karn. I think I'd rather get a God-Pharaoh statue though. Yeah, just making all their spells cost 2 more is going to win this game. It's going to be just absolutely lights out here. So 3, 4, 5, 6, floating 1 mana here. Yeah, I'm going to play Vivien. I'm going to plus on the Elves. Then I'm going to crew the Skysovereign. And then I'm going to kill the... probably just the Bugler. And now all of their spells cost 2 more. They're super duper behind on board. They just kind of can't win. There's probably a better way to do that turn, but... This game's very over. Kind of garbage time. And they can kill Karn, but Karn's not doing that much. Yeah. So despite Magic Online crashing and not playing a second Planeswalker that turn, we still won. And I will see you guys for round number 4. We're 3-0. It's exciting. We are on the draw for round number 4. I'm going to keep this hand. I mean, I already kept this hand. When Island Go, which is not an uncommon start in Pioneer at the moment. This could be Spirits, Blue-White Control, Inverter. So now we kind of have it narrowed down to Inverter or Blue-White Control. I kind of feel like this basic island art makes me think Inverter, but obviously we don't know for sure here. Now we almost definitely know for sure. Hoping that this survives. They decide to Thought Erasure. I'm not too torn up about that, just because we have a lot of different things we can do next turn. I guess we have 2 different things next turn. We can play a Jadelight Ranger, or we can play a Voyaging Satyr. And I wasn't sure which one we'd be doing, and maybe our opponent will just make our choice for us, but I kind of think it's more likely that they'll just take the Nissa here. I've said this before, but I'm not a huge fan of Thought Erasure in Pioneer. 2 mana discard spells, just 2 mana spells that don't impact the board. I'm not very excited by. Castle Garenbrig is interesting. I think I'm going to play the Jadelight because I'll play Voyaging Satyr if we can play both Jadelights next turn. So we play Voyaging Satyr next turn. We play a land. We have 3 lands in play. Yeah, I don't believe. Yeah, we can't play double Jadelight next turn. So I'm going to play the first Jadelight. This is going to help us get some devotion going. Help us find some action, put a clock into play. Will I keep a third Jadelight Ranger? I think the answer is no. I think we're going to dig for a Planeswalker, and we found one, which we can play next turn. Interesting, interesting. Might not play it into a Censor, if that's what we're thinking, but getting Karn down and just getting Tormod's Crypt up so they can't combo you off has been pretty important for me in the past. Yeah, I think I'm gonna just slam Karn. If he gets countered, he gets countered. Okay, no counter. And so now, by getting Tormod's Crypt, our opponent can't cast Inverter next turn, because if they do, we exile their graveyard and then they deck themselves. I believe we would need a Burning-Tree Emissary to be able to cast Throne next, or sorry, God-Pharaoh statue next turn. What card was I thinking of? I think I was thinking of Throne of the God-Pharaoh. This is God-Pharaoh statue, very different. If they play a Jace, we can just attack it down. They're dead if they cast Inverter. So, and those are the main 2 4-mana spells. They can also cast Dig Through Time. Didn't want to Tormod's Crypt in response to them fetching to put them off Dig though. Looks like that is what they're doing, is casting Dig Through Time here. Doing a main phase to be able to find a Thoughtseize or a Fatal Push. If they don't Fatal Push us, I think if we draw a Mana Elf, we'll be able to play a God-Pharaoh statue next turn by going Elf, Nykthos for 4, second Nykthos, Nykthos for 4, plays statue. So Burning-Tree Emissary or one of our 7 elves lets us cast a statue next turn. So that's what, 11 different cards? I think it has to be one of those 2. Or maybe would Wolfwillow Haven do it? Now nothing does it because our Jadelight is dead. Just a thought experiment, I guess. Oh, we would have been able to do it. Okay. Not very relevant now, I guess. So I don't believe we... I guess we could just get the statue now. Yeah, I think I'm okay getting the statue now. And I think I'd like to play Jadelight here and try to find a forest off of it to play the Voyaging Satyr off of. We missed. I'm gonna keep Vivien on top though. And now we can either just we can still play the Voyaging Satyr by cashing in our Nykthos. But I think I'd rather just play the Mystic and pass. Keep the Nykthos just to, get double activations next turn. It's not super likely our opponent's going to be able to counter the God-Pharaoh statue, but it is possible that they could discard it here. So that could have been a reason to hold on to the Karn, but they did just dig through time, and these lists usually play like 1 or 2 heroes downfall. So if they found a downfall for the Karn, and I think they would be kind of likely to look for one, right? Then that would have been bad. Oh, you know what? Can we play the Vivien and then God-Pharaoh statue next turn? That would be really good if we can. So we Nykthos. Yeah, we can. Assuming they don't have anything, and they did just dig through time, so they probably have something. But, you know, if they just like play a Jace here, or do some cantripping, we're going to be in good shape. And then the turn after, we could play an Eldrazi. So they start off by cracking Fabled Passage. They Thoughtseize the Jadelight. Well, we can still cast Statue, but this is going to keep us off of Vivien plus Statue next turn. Looks like a Jace. Could be another dig. I'm not that worried about a dig if we can get the Statue down. It is going to cost us our land drop and like our whole rest of our turn, I think. But it's going to slow our opponent down a lot. Again, remember, we can animate this and attack for 6 with it. It does make our opponent lose a life at the end of all of our end steps, too. And now, so like this again is like the, not the lock, but the way to disrupt them is Crypt plus Statue. Because now, with Crypt in play, they need to go for Inverter plus Oracle in the same turn. And with Statue, that makes that line 12 mana. Which is very difficult for our opponent to get up to. Notably, if we had cashed in the Nykthos for Satyr last turn, we'd be in slightly better shape. Something to think about when you're sequencing in the future. I still am not convinced it was incorrect to hold the Nykthos, but it didn't work out well for us this game. And just kind of like Thalia and Legacy, making all of your opponents' cantrips cost 1 more. God-Pharaoh Statue making Opt, Thoughtseize, Drown in the Lock, Hero's Downfall cost 2 more mana each. It's a big game. We can also tutor with Karn again next turn. Could get a Darksteel Citadel if we need to play a land. Could get Skysovereign. Pithing Needle for Jace is an option. Lots of options. Could get Verdurous Gearhulk, just get more of a clock, but probably just plussing on God-Pharaoh Statue. But they're going to go ahead and play Jace, mostly just to cycle here. I guess actually animating God-Pharaoh Statue has some risks, because that's going to expose it to spot removal. Yeah, so Vivien could just needle the Jace. If we needle the Jace, though, they can play Inverter for 6, but then they can't also cantrip unless they have exactly land Censor to cycle Censor. Interesting. We can just kill the Jace by plussing with the Karn, but then we expose our God-Pharaoh Statue. That might just be okay, though. We could also Vivien and Voyaging Satyr and set up for an Eldrazi next turn, but then we don't interact with our opponent in any way, and we are exposing ourselves to being comboed. This deck has a lot of options. Doesn't have any, like, you don't have to think when you sideboard, but you have to think a lot when you play. If we had one more mana, I'd probably just get Verdurous Gearhulk and put all the counters on the Alpha and kill the Jace. We do not. I'm going to play Vivien. Make the God-Pharaoh statue a creature. Put the counters on the Mystic. Attack the Jace. I am, now worried about a Hero's Downfall, but that would cost our opponent 4 mana, so that would eat up most of their turn. Yeah, we had so many options that last turn. Hope we made the right play. Opponent's tapping an island. Yeah, 3 mana opt is not going to get the job done. They conceded. Okay, cool. I think we're going to be able to Ulamog them next turn by getting I guess we can count. So 5 of Nykthos, 6, 7, 8, 9. No, we were 1 mana short. I was thinking we could get Citadel and Ulamog them, but we were a mana short. Doesn't matter though. We won game 1 against Inverter, and we're going to go ahead and go to game number 2. So we're on the draw for game 2. We have a totally serviceable hand. Nothing too crazy. Just ramp and Planeswalker, which is what this deck is doing. Ramp into a Planeswalker. If our elf doesn't get pushed, and it didn't, which I'm pretty surprised after an opponent played turn 1 Swamp, we get to play two mana dorks next turn. Gonna play Satyr first to play around Censor, but wow, our opponent just doesn't seem like they have anything. This kind of indicates to me that our opponent has like a hand that just has the combo, and they're going to try to kill us on turn 5 is kind of what I'm reading here. Notably, Voyaging Satyr could theoretically make some extra mana with Castle Garenbrig, but we would need 8 regular mana to sink into this if we were going to use this for Ulamogging. We don't currently have a creature that can minus the Vivien and kill the Jace. Not that we would necessarily want to. I think we're more likely to want to minus the Vivien for a creature. Nissa was a great draw, though. So we're going to play the non-forest here to cast the Nissa. Yeah, play Nissa. And then we're going to untap a forest with Nissa. And we could, I don't think our opponent has Fatal Push. Sorry, Fabled Passage can't be sacrificed for mana. I don't really know why I was thinking it could. But I was thinking that they could push the land, so I was wondering, should we just cast the Vivien now? And instead of killing the Jace, I'm gonna plus the Vivien here on probably just the forest. Yeah. So this way, if our opponent casts the Inverter, and remember, we read that our opponent was likely to be on Inverter here. We can just Ulamog them, or sorry, Emrakul them next turn. I think I'm pretty sure we can. And yeah, we can Emrakul them, I think, and then kill them because they don't have a deck. I guess we'll make sure. So this does tap for 2 for an Emrakul. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 when the Vivien goes to the graveyard putting a type. So we actually, 12, 13 with Nissa untapping a land. So we can Emrakul them next turn. And because they didn't have an interactive spell on turn 1 or 2 and they kept 7, I really do think they're just going to cast Inverter here. And I really think we're going to kill them with Emrakul. They discarded an Inverter. Cool. So I think we made the right read, and we have enough mana. We even get to play our land. So minus Vivien, don't have a Nykthos to float mana first. Something to look out for. 2. Yeah, just a casual Turn 4 Emrakul. In a deck that doesn't even main deck Emrakul. Even get to play a Voyaging Satyr. Now, our opponent should just be dead. Even we can just tap Jace, and then they'll have no cards in their library, and they'll die before they can win. So yeah, now they have no cards in their library. We can just pass. You can also Thoughtseize there. Oh, an Oracle, just to be safe. Cool. So we're 4-0. It would be awesome to trophy on a YouTube video. We still haven't done it, but like 2 of the last 3, we've started off 4-0, I think, and haven't been able to get there. So fingers crossed. See you guys in round number 5. Okay, so we are on the draw for round 5, and this is a really interesting hand to talk about. This hand is incredibly explosive. You know, Nykthos is generating mana, Voyaging Satyr is generating extra mana. We have a turn 1 elf. We don't have a payoff. We don't have a planeswalker. We have 16 good draws and like 4 medium ones. So our 16 good draws are our 12 planeswalkers and our 4 Voracious Hydras and any of our Explorer guys. I'm blanking on the name. Well, Jadelight Ranger is also going to be a good draw here. And we need to find one of those in the top 3 cards. And we should be a little favored to hit. So I'm going to keep. I think this hand has enough of an upside to keep. Just because how explosive it is mana-wise. But it definitely needs to draw one of those 16 cards in the top 3 cards. Because our first 2 turns are going to be setting up here. So Blooming Marsh, Llanowar Elves. Looks like an opposing Stompy deck of some kind. Next turn we can also play this elf. And so we're gonna make big mana on turn 3. Just need to find something to play in the next 2 cards. So I think that I might have mulliganed this hand on the play, but I think on the draw, just getting that extra look at something big to do, I think was worth it. And if our big thing is on the top of the deck, our opponent can't Thoughtseize it. Is this Jund Stompy? Jund midrange? I haven't seen these 3 cards together. Alright, there's a Voracious Hydra, which might not be good against Jund, but you know, we're just going to play the cards we draw, I guess. Yeah, Burning-Tree is... like, taking Burning-Tree was smart, because now Nykthos is tapping for 2 less, and so is Voyaging Satyr. I'm going to kill the elf, I think, rather than make a doubly big Hydra. Our opponent didn't do anything this turn, and looks like they're like a mid-range deck, so I have a feeling that we're going to get hit by a 5-drop if we don't kill this elf. And if they kill the Hydra, it's the same either way. But we get to kill the elf. We'll see if this would have been better than making an 8/8, but I think my opponent might have played a 5-drop here, and they just conceded. Well, I guess that was the right line. I wonder what the contents of my opponent's hand was. This has happened a few times where our opponents have scooped super early, and usually, like when your opponent scooped very early, you have to think to yourself, how am I going to sideboard? But this deck just doesn't have to think about that. So, sorry, I didn't articulate it, but that hand had no lands. We're going to mulligan. Keeping this one. This hand is fine. I think we put back an elf here. So we go turn 1 elf, turn 2 Emissary Satyr, and then turn 3 big Hydra. I grew up on Elvish Mystic, so I'm going to keep Elvish Mystic over Llanowar Elves. Actually, more accurately, I grew up on Arbor Elf and Avacyn's Pilgrim in Standard, but Elvish Mystic came quickly after that and got to join the team. But Llanowar Elf was a little bit before my time. Our opponent looks like they kept 7, and they are tanking on their turn 1 play here. Just have to win one of our next 2 to trophy. I've been wanting to trophy with one of our YouTube brews for a while now. Mana Confluence into Llanowar Elves. Still just really unsure what our opponent is doing. We could also theoretically just Hydra on 1 next turn, but like the upside of Voyaging Satyr is really high. But also Hydra is making mana with Nykthos, and our opponent did concede when we killed their elf last time. So our opponent is maybe a Jund deck. We've seen Jund colors. We've seen Elf, Blooming Marsh Mountain, Thoughtseize. I think we also saw like basic forest. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what's going on. Yeah, drawing second Burning-Tree though. Yeah, we're just gonna play. We can play Vivien actually. This was nuts. This is the nut draw, having double Burning-Tree on turn 2 and a Nykthos. So why don't we Hydra on? We have access to 5 mana. We can Hydra X equals 1, fight the Elf, and then also play Voyaging Satyr. Alternatively, we could play the Vivien, but I think I want to keep my opponent's mana just a little lower. If we don't play Vivien, it's bad against Thoughtseize. And then we can play an extra big Hydra down the line. And we can also, I think we can Titan. Well, we might not be able to Titan. We'd have 5, 6, 7, 8 Devotion. Yeah, it's not Titan Devotion. We'd also Vivien and minus and kill the Elf, and then next turn just play a huge Hydra. Lots of options. I'm going to Vivien and plus on the Burning-Tree Emissaries. Very good turn 2. Very good turn 2. It's going to be hard to lose from this spot regardless. Just wanted to find the best way to maximize things. I think that this was it. So creature-wise, next turn we could get a Verdurous Gearhulk or a Questing Beast or a Walking Ballista. Or we could just like play a huge Hydra plus Vivien and then just keep the Vivien around and go for a Titan the turn after. Our opponent could be playing 5-color Niv Mizzet. Oh wow, there's a Karn. So let's just take a look and see how much mana we have. We have 8 mana, so Karn could get a 4-drop. Really wish Karn could get God-Pharaoh statue, but it can't. Also can't quite get Skysovereign and put it into play. Why don't this turn we just play a Hydra, X equals 4, kill the Elf, and then also play Voyaging Satyr, and then next turn we can do some crazy stuff. I think my opponent's playing 5-color Niv. Obviously we don't know for sure. They just conceded, and I guess we'll never know for sure. Our start was crazy. We 5-0'd. Awesome. Very exciting stuff. I think this deck is really good. I've been having a lot of success with it off stream. The very last league I played was my first trophy, so we're now back-to-back trophies with this deck. I will be streaming more of this deck Monday on twitch.tv/Aspiringspike if you want to see more of it there. I also do plan on recording a video with the mono black devotion deck, and I do think Karn getting Voracious Citadel is very powerful, but right now I am thinking the green version is better. But also, if the green version becomes popular, I think the black version is favored. So we'll talk about the strengths and the weaknesses of the two archetypes when this video comes out, and you can expect this video tomorrow on Sunday, February 23rd. I'm assuming this mono green one is coming out on Saturday the 22nd. But I've been Aspiringspike. I hope you had a good time, and I will see you when I see you.